You're listening to Ride Rehab on WDWNT.com. And now, here are your hosts, Tyler Mann and Thomas Kiernan.
Welcome to Ride Rehab, the podcast of ridiculously reskinning rides, attractions, and areas of Walt Disney World. I'm Tyler Mann.
And I'm Thomas Kiernan, and every episode we put ourselves in the shoes of Imagineers to see what we would do with infinite time and money.
And also, how can we shove Marvel or Star Wars into anything? Now, a lot of people don't like what we're doing, so we're constantly on the run between recording spots.
Yes, and this episode we're recording from Dr. Seeker's office inside of the Dino Institute. He's probably not around, you know, he's busy
What
man.
are you doing in my office?
Oh my god.
Wait, who are you?
I'm Dr. Seeker, your friendly controller and a heck of a paleontologist, if I say so myself. Now, who are you?
Just don't tell me who you are. We're Tyler and Thomas from the Paleology Makeover Squad. Yeah?
Yeah, and we're here to modernize this office, and this building, and the whole time travel thing, and dinosaurs in general?
Yeah, that's not good.
Modernize? I think this place looks pretty modern in this year of our Einstein 1998.
Wait, what?
You still think it's 1998?
Well, due to some time fluctuations and traveling all around the ages, it's now for some reason always 1998 inside the Dino Institute.
Oh, well, maybe you should pop outside into 2019 and see what's up. You know, to get an idea of how things are going.
I hadn't thought of that. Okay, I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Where's the key? We need to lock it before he gets back.
What? You can't lock something from inside. Well, we don't need a key if you're inside the thing.
You think he bought the whole makeover squad?
Maybe. I mean, what did I say? Lology? Paleo lollipop.
There is a carnival out there.
He's back.
When did that happen? There's a This is unimaginable. Okay. Maybe that carnival is not in the future, though. Maybe this is just some weird thing that everyone loves in 2019. Off to 2030 in my portable time rover golf cart to see what the future holds.
Oh my god. Oh, he just went into like a golf cart.
Wow, listen to those incredible time traveling sounds. Definitely legally distinct from anything the BBC or
the actual ride house?
Yeah, or certain other companies, or a DeLorean.
How long
Anyways.
How long is he going to be in?
I don't know. Well, how does time travel work? Like,
Usually started in.
well, don't you
Great
have to-
Scott! It's unimaginable. It's all still there. Fellas, we must do something. It must be changed before it crumbles. It's in a disarray now. It's better for it to end in its prime in 1998 than what it becomes.
Exactly. Like Gravity Falls. It's better to end it after 2 seasons.
What's Gravity Falls?
Oh, sorry. That's like a never. Anyways, I guess he's right. Yeah. Let's. Would you mind joining us while we try and figure out what we can do to fix the area of Dinosaur or Dinoland U.S.A?
Well, I was going to travel the Ice Age, but...
Oh, those are terrible movies. Oh, he doesn't know about that yet. It's 1998.
Sure, I guess I will join you. Why not? I have nothing better to do, and my boss is out.
All right, well, let's just start with a little bit of backstory for those listening to our podcast who doesn't know about Dinoland U.S.A. So for those of you who don't know, Dinoland U.S.A. originally started as a small highway town where an amateur fossil hunter found some dinosaur bones in 1947. After contacting some scientist friends, they gathered their money together to purchase the site. Since then, scientists, volunteers, and grad students have been living there trying to find answers about dinosaurs, and that's how the Dino Institute was founded, and it opened the site as a fossil discovery park. An old fishing lodge of the property became Restaurantosaurus. Meanwhile, the Dino Institute and their partners at a research facility called Chronotech discovered how to warp vehicles through time and thus started doing time tours. Chester and Hester, 2 locals, were determined to make a quick buck and converted their gas station into a fossil souvenir shop. Not to be outdone by the Dino Institute, they turned their parking lot into a small amusement park called Chester and Hester's DinoRama, which featured their own version of Dinosaur called Primeval Whirl. They also added Triceratops Spin and the Midway games. So, we're going to begin with Dinosaur. I mean, we do have this lovely thing. It's called a maintenance report, and I think it's fair to say that Dinosaur is not up to the same par as when the attraction first opened. Because a lot of the cool effects are off, like the time travel, like tunnel. It's supposed to have like sparks flying. There's supposed to be this cool little like green smoke portal that you go through. And I just went, and I gotta say, the dinosaurs, I don't know how to say they were turned off. Like, it's someone flicked an off switch on the Carnotaur, because he was off, like, the first 2 times you see him.
Well, this is a good point that you were making, and I don't think people understand this about the Dino Institute. We are fully aware there is a theme park ride inside of our institute. We wouldn't necessarily put people in actual danger for time travel purposes, and if you've ever been there, you've seen that there are other people riding around. We record that little bit and all of that that pre-show just so there's people that will come into the institute and hopefully give us money, because Disney gives us none. So I fully understand this ride and sort of how it's done and how it's made, and it tends to have a lot of operating parts, and because of that, some of those parts do not necessarily always work. And weirdly enough, half of it's already in the dark, so I'm not sure why we can't get the other stuff to work. It might be, though, because of we are a non-profit, the Dino Institute.
Oh, right, of course. For those who don't know, the ride vehicle is called an EMV, or an enhanced motion vehicle. It's basically almost like the test track vehicles, but there's a motion base on top, like a motion simulator, which allows it to move and everything. I mean, that's still like a solid... the Time Rover itself, I think, is a great vehicle design. Like the idea of like going back in time and you're in like this big Jeep sort of thing. I always found that fun. It's like...
All right, I will say that I think the Jeep is a bit... I guess you have to have some kind of vehicle, but the Jeep is like... I feel like it's almost... They went to whatever company and were like, we need to build this ride, and we're going to build it ourselves, but we need a vehicle. Give us one of your Jeeps from, like, an old King Kong ride that never got made or something. And then they painted it to be the Time Rovers.
Are you comparing it to, like, the Jurassic Park movie? Because they're in, like, those little Jeep
Maybe that's
things.
What I'm thinking of. But they look like generic Jeeps that with some time technology on them.
I think it's also good to point out that the Dino Institute, we reached out to Dr. Jones and his institute, his university, and
I see.
Used his plans. It's basically the same ride that they also have at Marshall University.
I read it online that they use the term bolt for bolt. It's the same ride.
Yes,
because people
there's a
were
few
like
changes.
Yes,
but almost bolt to bolt. I believe there is a dip that is not necessarily in the other ride. It's very, very small sort of differences. But yeah, I mean, so basically what you have here is a layover on top of another ride, sort of. It's not even how to put this. It's not even a different show with the same mechanics. It's the same show with different settings.
Yeah, and it's they have that main room in Dr. Jones's, which is sort of I think they called it like the chaos room, because you got the bridge, you got the lava flowing up and everything, you've got this Eye of Mara shooting lasers and everything. You have that big room where you can see multiple vehicles all the time in. But in Dinosaur, like, it's all these mini enclosed sets. Almost, yes. And you could certainly see that in some sequences, like where the room in Jones where you normally do like the snake room where it does just a quick like hairpin turn all the way around, or even like the bridge, you could tell when you are in those sequences in Dinosaur. But it's weird that it's so dark in there. I would love it to be a little bit bright. Not even brighter, just I want to see more vibrant sets, like akin to this Pandora River journey that you might have heard of when you stepped outside for a brief moment. I'm sure people were talking about Pandora.
Well, our sister, ACE is one of our sister companies.
Oh, I did not know the Dino Institute and ACE were studying the same sort of things.
We have similar benefactors.
Yeah, those are the two. Whoever these benefactors are, their interests are dinosaurs and banshees.
Oh, right.
Those are the two big things they want to invest in, because banshees are definitely very different from dinosaurs and don't have that same niche appeal. But anyways,
yeah. What I would say though is that that ride is very specific depending, and your experience of it is very specific depending on when you go. Because your light sensitivity for your eyes differs. If you go at night, it's a lot brighter. If you go during the day, it feels a lot darker. Sometimes I have, because of course I would be remiss not to ride a ride that I helped create.
Of course.
And I do enjoy looking at myself in that pre-show. So the key here is sometimes in that pre-show I close my eyes because, of course, I was already there. I don't need to see it again. And if you close your eyes and let your eyes adjust to the darkness during the pre-show, you generally have a brighter experience during the show, or the ride, I should say. It is very dependent on that. And of course, the more light you let in, the more you realize that the first Carnotaurus is not necessarily anything besides a neck in a box.
Yeah.
That one it's very obvious. I don't know how much bushes cost, but apparently to put in front.
You know, Walt used to say all the time, we all remember this, Walt used to say things like, what's the point of having good lighting when the guests can just close their eyes in the pre-show?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that famous Walt quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk now about, like, the whole 90s science aesthetic. We've talked about this when we talked about Journey into Imagination, which is that when you theme something to be like 90s science, which at the time is like
another institute that I have connections with.
Yeah, of course, the Imagination Institute.
Well, we all have a society, the Society of Institutes.
Oh, I see.
The Society of Directors of the Institutes.
Society of Institutes.
It screams 90s. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's beige and off-white coloring in the...
And Bill Nye the Science Guy?
My friend Bill Nye is in the pre-show, yes.
Yes.
And it feels very much like his other show, Ellen, in that sense, Ellen's Energy Adventure.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just the theming and the weird, like, kind of synth piano music that you hear at some points in the queue, and that one brief moment at the end of the ride when there's, like... Because the ride has no music. There's just, like, a music sting right at the end to make you clap.
Do you know what I will say, though? Even though it has that 90s technology feel, I feel like that's just more because that's when it was built, as opposed to Journey into Imagination, where it's almost distracting.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When you think of time travel, do you think about, like, the grill in an oven on the wall? Because that's what basically the time travel tunnel is.
It does look
elemental
like
coils.
Yeah, it looks like
when our time travel tunnel works.
Yeah, I mean it works, but
yeah,
sometimes
but it looks like a toaster. Yes,
yeah,
it looks like when you look down inside of a toaster.
It's fairly rare to. The other day I was going on the ride with my wife, Mrs. Seeker, and
all right.
We actually high-fived each other because we went through the time tunnel and every effect worked at the right time. The doors opened and the coils lit up and the spinny time vortex was there and the mist and everything. That has happened maybe twice since I have experienced the park.
Okay.
So the time tunnel has always been a really rough. But you make a good point about the aesthetics. As we've mentioned earlier, we are permanently in 1998 because of a wormhole time vortex, and it's very clear. We got some money from Ray Kroc. He was one of our benefactors, and helped in 1998 sort of make things look good. But if you've ever been to our, I don't want to call it a teacher's lounge, but sort of our work lounge.
Yes.
It is very much still in the, how should I say it, the modernized kind of 1998 look that we've grown accustomed to here at the Institute.
Let's start there with like how we would sort of update this, because I've always said with the science aesthetic, if you're going to keep that, and let's assume that we're going to be keeping this for the future, you either go so far into the future that it's like crazy, like test track almost in the aesthetic of like Epcot, future kind of retro Tomorrowland kind of vibes, or you kind of put it back in time where it's like steampunkish in a way where it's like, you know, the way, like, how do I describe it? You know the way like Mystic Manor kind of feels, where it's like old-timey, but it's still like placed in a time that's a little bit farther off than most people would remember, sort of thing. Like,
I don't know at all what you're saying.
I'm saying like 1800s, like Victorian era of mechanics, like almost like Jules Verne kind of time travel. If we're going like that's the two directions that I think would work best in. Like if you go back in time, then Dr. Seeker is like, and sorry, our good friend who's recording with us, Mr. Seeker, or sorry, Mr. Seeker was your father, I guess. Dr. Seeker.
Yes,
like,
you can call me Dr. Seeker.
Okay. Making you have this like monocle top hat kind of like old timey Dreamfinder vibe, going back in time to like that Victorian era would be cool. It would certainly give it a weird vibe,
right,
and the vehicles would be like
the time machine.
I want to get in a time machine
Like
that feels
H.G.
like
Wells,
it's
the
like
time machine?
Yeah, like bronze and copper tubing and stuff like that.
You have to
kind of
wheel the
vibes.
pedals to make it go.
I think probably the issue though is now that I've experienced 2019 and the rest of the area around me, you can't put our time machines, our wormholes can't suck up that whole area and make it all 1900. So that makes things a little difficult. As much as I would like that, our technology is not allowed at this point to do that, or we'll end up really breaking time continuum.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I would do would be to rip the IP out, because this is an IP ride based on the hit film Dinosaur.
Right.
The CGI animated dinosaur film starring a brontosaurus with Benedict Cumberbatch's face.
I know that reference. I've seen him in Starter for 10.
But I would pull the IP out, and I would just focus on do they have another dinosaur movie?
The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur. Well,
yes, The Good Dinosaur. So, by the way, when I went through the future, I did take a lot of time. I was in the future for 20 years. I don't know if I made that very clear.
Oh my god!
wow.
So
You look good for.
Thank you. It's the Seeker genes. But why I stayed is because I wanted to catch up on all of this stuff. That way I would have the ability to understand what has happened
Of course.
since my
You need
beautiful
context.
1998. Yes. So I agreed that The Good Dinosaur is like the only other property that's sort of used dinosaurs. But I also would say that you could strip out all of our ride is not very IP oriented to begin
And
with.
that's the other thing. You can pull the IP out without doing any damage to the ride.
That's because I feel like the IP got shoved in. I don't
Yes.
feel like we had. That was more of a say from Mr. Eisner, who was another benefactor.
I mean, I'd be fine with like if it turned into Dr. Jones taking a visit over here, I'd be fine with that. I would love to see that area become more of like. I mean, it doesn't fit with. That's the thing. Animal Kingdom, it doesn't fit in.
Yes.
Well, I disagree. After kind of thinking through this and sitting in my my house with my second wife and my 3 children. Remember, I lived for 20 years. I had plenty of time.
Oh, you
to
had
think
a
this
whole
through.
other family?
Yes, I also have a wife in 1750, but never mind. The thing that's interesting is if you took our area and you made it South America, and you had South American animals, and you had a little station. You strip out, of course, all the other stuff. You could, and this has been kind of rumored online, of course. You could throw in, say, that kind of crappy Indiana Jones roller coaster from Europe.
Oh yeah, Raging
if you wanted
Spirits
to,
knockoff.
and you could just retheme all of that, and then take the exterior of our beloved institute and make it look like a temple, and then put the ride in there and not have any issues. The ride itself, as much as we love to talk about education, and my friend Bill shows up in that pre-show. Our education is so far back; it's in the pre-show. It's barely an educational experience anyway. So,
Yes.
because of that, there's no reason to act like we will be losing some sort of animal education experience. In fact, we probably gain more because the land itself will be showcasing animals from South America.
I concur. I guess that's the one sort of. I don't want to say the one, because there's numerous regions in the world, but it's one of the regions that isn't represented in the animal parks.
Because I'm thinking now about the dig site and the playground, and something like that. Like, it reminds me a bit of like the Coronado Springs dig site. That's very Mexican inspired.
Yes.
And so I guess there is like the dig site. That's the pool, but it still has that theme of like big poles up, looking down into like, I guess they excavated that kind of thing. And even though it's dinosaurs, I mean, there's still like other creatures that you can use if you want to keep the dig site, for example, but change the theming around it.
You could have the Quetzalcoatl
Yeah,
chasing you throughout the ride. That would be neat. But let's pull back to that. Okay, I like this idea of South America. Let's run with this. If we turned Dinoland U.S.A. into South America, what ride would we put in there? Let's just do what they did and do a bolt for bolt retheming of it, keeping most of it the same.
For me, just take the one from Disneyland. I have no issue with just taking that ride.
Bring Dr. Jones directly from California. I mean, you could do it like if the textures on the wall, like that one's a little bit more, I don't want to say Aztec-y kind of. It's a little bit more Egyptian-y feeling with a little bit more sandstone.
I was going to say, I think the setting of that one is probably Asia.
Yes.
Yes, that would be. So you'd change it to you'd change the theming to be South American, Mesoamerican cultures.
Well, I do believe, and if I'm correct about this, that the Indiana Jones Adventure, the Temple of the Crystal Skull that is in Tokyo Disney Sea, is a direct, bolt for bolt of the Disneyland ride, but it is already Mayan themed. I believe it's in a big Mayan temple. So you already have a South American variation. In fact, they can copy 100% almost the whole kind of aesthetic, at least the interiors, even if they have to change the exteriors a little bit to make that happen. So it's all that is already almost perfect.
There you go. Disney doesn't have to do any work.
No,
they can just do it again.
Yes, and get people.
They probably still have the molds.
I'm sure there's tons
100%
of people who don't like that they're getting rid of people are always like that though.
Dinosaurs.
You can't hang on to it all. Otherwise, like he said, it's going to be crumbling in the future. Apparently, so
there is a certain charm the current dinosaur has. I think.
Yes.
However, I think that charm begins to grow old the more you spend time on that ride. Much like we do in our lives, we just get older. That's all.
Well, except me, because I travel.
Except you, yes. Well, you travel through time, and I think
that helps my pores.
You remain the same, and Dr. Martian, her weird suit stays the same.
Yes,
and
I always come back to
something tachyons, something Dr. Manhattan.
Yes,
something.
My friend Steve Rogers. So it's an easy change, and I don't think that people would. I think it would be good. I don't think people would have that much of an issue. I of course, would miss my beloved Dino Institute, but as we've said, it's better for it to go out in its prime than to go out kind of in its worst way. And I think, seeing what 2019 looks like, 1998 is not looking as cool as I once thought. So,
don't say cool.
Well,
cool is not.
You're right. I apologize. The term is rad, and
that's it.
Yes, it's not as rad as it used to be, but I think that. People would get over it a little bit. I do believe that people do not, as I don't, like that carnival area outside. And if maybe you don't put a roller coaster, the Indiana Jones roller coaster there. Maybe you put more children's oriented material. But at the same time, they're doing stuff over at Rafiki's Planet Watch and things like that. So there are things going on for children elsewhere as well. I have no issue with having those rides or some sort of child activity in the Dino Land area over Diggs County, but I would say that in its current form, it's not used that much anyway. I never see the carnival barkers really having lines of people coming to buy tickets to an experience that they can have at Busch Gardens or whatever. So I think that you can say, hey, we're getting rid of this ride that already scares the crap out of your children, and we're going to put in a ride that does not scare them as much, but it's still intense. And we're also going to add, more immersive, more fun animals, and some sort of South American play area maybe for children. And I think that would still go over rather well. For me, that feels like a grand success and a good sort of thing towards, the legacy. The legacy is untarnished of the Dino Institute.
There you go.
Let me move in that direction, and then we'll come back because we have some ridiculous concepts for Dinosaur that we're going to have to shove in. So I just want to say really quick, in Toronto, and I promise I'm going somewhere with this, in Toronto we have this theme park, it's called Canada's Wonderland, and there is 2 areas in it called Kidsville and the Peanuts area or whatever. And those are your quote-unquote kiddie section of the park. And I've never found Disney World to really have a park where section of it is kiddie land. I mean, like, if we're gonna take Walt quotes, I'm gonna say that he looked at a carousel in a park and saw parents sitting on benches and thought, well, why aren't the parents enjoying it with the kids? And that's what Disneyland originally was. He wanted it to be a place where parents and children can enjoy everything together as a family. And let's be fair, I think we're all adults here. I mean, Dr. Seeker, you have your second and third family.
I'm very old.
Children.
Time travel has been well to me.
And I really don't want this area to feel like your Kiddyville, where you have your generic spinner and an off-the-shelf attraction, which I'm about to talk about as well. It feels like it's the kiddie section, like I guess a little bit like Storybook Circus in Magic Kingdom. Remember we went on that?
Very much so.
Oh, yes.
There's almost that area where it's like, 2 or 3 small attractions. I mean, everything else in Magic Kingdom a kid could go on. Not necessarily like a very small toddler. I mean,
correct.
Don't bring them to a theme park. They're going to be horrified of everything in general. But I just don't want that whole Chester and Hester's area to feel like your Kiddyville, because that's what it feels like right now.
I wouldn't say a Kiddyville. It feels like we've dropped the facade of being a magical place on Earth where you can go enjoy yourself, and it feels like you're at a county fair where they're trying to hawk as much money as they can out of you.
Which is the theme. And we've been there in the day, and we've said, wow, this is actually kind of crummy. But then we went at night.
It looks nice.
The first time, and I went, okay, I get it now. Because at nighttime, all the lights are lit up, and you hear sort of that carnival sound, and I guess at nighttime I had a better vision of like a carnival. So here's what I would say to do to that area if we're going to keep it the way it is. I didn't close that bad boy in a place where it's infinitely night, like the Mexico Pavilion. We have a little sort of, that like Roger Rabbit tunnel that you go through to get to Toontown? Have something like that to walk into that area so that your eyes adjust from like if it's already daytime outside to nighttime. Then you have that ongoing carnival area. You have some like backdrops on the walls, or like some big painted, like murals that depict like where this is, because it's supposed to be just like any land USA. But if you could sort of place it in a weird place, like if I guess dinosaurs still exist in this area.
If you said if you're going to keep it the same, so
yeah,
yes.
If you're going to keep it the same.
Well, let me stand up for a moment for my good friend. Of course, the Dino Institute is still partnered with Disney, and my good friend Joe Rohde, who did spend the time to make it the most artificial, like real feel possible. Like
yes.
the pavement underneath your feet looks and is mapped like an old parking lot, and that's not even actual concrete, or it's not like what we use for parking lots. It's a different material, so it wears better.
And people have pointed out, they're like, well, they just dropped this area on top, and it's like, no, there was a swamp here before. It was Florida. It's just good theming.
I enjoy having lunch over at Restaurantosaurus. It's beautiful in there. There's a lot of great theming in Diggs County. I have no issue with the theming of Diggs County necessarily, beyond Hester's and Chester's. I think that is where things get a little rough. I think you could take all of that out. In fact, the other issue is they weirdly have this large dinosaur there as sort of like an entryway, but it's like a weenie that is then hidden behind a bunch of trees, so you can't see it from the nighttime show. And then when everyone gets out of the nighttime show, that area cannot handle that traffic very well, and it gets clogged very quickly. So taking that out and taking all of that out, and whatever you do with it, you don't have to do it South America, whatever you do with it, you could direct traffic flow a ton better than what it currently is.
And I want to talk about just Primeval Whirl for a minute, if we may. I needed to understand this right, because it feels like a carnival attraction. And here's the thing. It is, because that's actually, I would say that's debatable. I looked this up. So I've done a little bit of sort of shadowing at a theme park company. They're called Forek. They're in Toronto, and they basically like built like Universal Studios.
And by worked with, you mean you broke into their offices, rummaged through their documents, and then stole some for this podcast.
Exactly, yes. I did not email them, and they knew my dad, and I got to spend a bit of time there legally. I absolutely broke it. They have like a catalog of rides that you could just pick from that are already pre-designed. And that's what this is. If you go to the website for Reversion Industries, which is the manufacturer of this ride, you could see the blueprints. They have like 7 rides, and this is just one of them. So you could just like pick this, and here's the awful thing. It states on their website that it takes 12 hours to set up this ride. It takes 5 trailers and 12 hours. And think of how long they're taking to make these rides at Star Wars Land. They're taking like months and months. I don't like the concept of going on a ride that's been built in 12 hours.
But this one has not been. I think there's a permanency to how the structure is created. This is not the same thing. I mean, you have to give them credit. The track may be template, but the construction, they would never put in a ride that can easily be picked up and taken away in 6 hours or less. Like, that's just not... It certainly isn't what that ride is.
Yes.
It's very much in the ground.
Unlike a certain Yeti we know, where it's like a permanent thing that can't be removed easily, like most people, as Tom drinks from this mug that we took from your office that has a Yeti on it.
Yeah, my favorite mug. I've been looking at that.
It is a really good mug, and there's like a footprint at the bottom. It's kind of cool. But I found out that like this manufacturer, they went bankrupt in 2008, and I went, oh no, because like I'm thinking, unlike the shelf life of a monorail, where it's like, okay, well, these companies don't exist, we have to steal parts from other monorails to fix the ones we have. Like, how do you get parts? But there is a company that continues to manufacture this template. I just don't like the fact that they sort of used an off-the-shelf thing and then just added some very, I'd say, light theming on top of it that sometimes doesn't even spin the way it should. That's a whole maintenance issue thing, but it does...
it's budget constraints. It was 100% budget constraints for an area that needed more, and it was a quick solution that, as you know, and because I've spent so much time reading up on theme park design in my 20 years before I came back, because I wanted to fix this with you guys. You know that a lot of times a temporary solution becomes permanent because of laziness or a lack of... it's always about the new thing and putting something else new. And so things like this are enjoyed by people, and Joe Schmo is completely fine going on Primeval World, doesn't have a problem with it, so why change it? It's not busted, it's not something that is falling apart and we need to do something different. Why change it? It's always a money-driven thing.
We know that.
Like, yeah.
This is where if we have infinite money, then.
Yes. And so because of that, I think that's the main issue here, right, is that... we find ourselves stuck with a carnival. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. It's a carnival that never ends, and the longer you're there, the more you realize you wish it was gone.
Yes,
but you can't because it's always there.
That sums it up for me almost completely effectively. I don't like it at all. I understand why it's there, but for me, it's just. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the carnival theme. I don't like the.
I can probably get out the words you're trying to say.
Yes, please.
Which is the rest of Animal Kingdom is so rich and lush in detail, and taken from real places and things. Like you walk into Harambe Market and you're like, geez, just at the detail and the textures of the walls, and it feels like it's real. And then you go here and it just. Maybe it's because we've been to carnivals before. You see this one and you're like, okay, it's just more of this. It's like when you watch a movie with a superhero and it's just in a city and you're like, I live in a city. I don't care.
And here's my thing. During my youth, every year, there's the Norfolk County Fair. And it is of the same quality as Dinoland U.S.A. And while I'm sure it's very well themed to a parking lot in the US somewhere, it's still at the same level as a podunk carnival that you could find anywhere across the North America. Anyways, the point is, I am not going to Disney World and paying exorbitant amounts of money to go to a county fair. It needs to be more. I feel like I'm a judge on Drag Race. We need to see more. I want to see the passion behind these things. And with a cheap carnival, I shouldn't say a cheap carnival, because I don't know how expensive it was, and I don't know how much effort it was, but it feels like a cheap carnival, and it just comes across as...
A cheap carnival.
A cheap carnival, yes. I don't want to say it comes off as patronizing, but kind of. The whole point is Disney knew that that's kind of what his park was, but at the same time, he knew how to hide that from the public. And he knew how to entertain people, to distract them from the fact that it is effectively a giant...
He also
it's a theme
cared.
park. He cared. That was the other thing. And you just don't... I just don't get that with Dinoland U.S.A.
I do believe the problem here is was sort of been mentioned, is you have two separate lands in three, Pandora, Asia, and Africa, where it is about going where you cannot normally, or where you're currently at, right? So you're going elsewhere. And one could say my Dino Institute is the same way. You're going into the past, of course. That's the whole kind of gambit of the ride. But Diggs County is like going to, Nevada, or it's a dig site, and if you're from America, that's not very appealing. I'm curious, and I don't know. I think it's probably the same for Canada, but I do wonder the perspective of someone who comes from a foreign country or from Europe, if they're like, wow, like, because it has this Diggs County has this 1950s sort of feel, that kind of Americana vibe, and I wonder if that's something people actually enjoy because they don't know it, they don't experience it on a day to day. So maybe we are not the ones to make that assessment. But I agree that the majority of people are from here. So in that sense, we want to go elsewhere. And so that's why somewhere like South America would be a much better call. I do believe what I'm saying is not necessarily the carnival. I'm suggesting the radio DJ playing now it used to be the hits of the dig related stuff, and now it's normal sort of DuckTales theme and some other things.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because now it's become Donald's Dinoland Bash, playing modern music, and we came out and it was playing like Roar by Katy Perry.
I have no recollection of this.
Which arguably is like an okay song for a land about dinosaurs. But this is where my ridiculous sort of ideas come in. Because if you're going to put Donald and Launchpad in, I would suggest making this Duckburg. Because if you were to layer in the carnival vibe, but just don't place it in USA, make it this fictional universe, and then you switch Dinosaur to be a DuckTales ride. And hold your arguments for a moment while I explain that there was a VR video up on YouTube a while back where the DuckTales characters get into a Jeep and you're sort of like, you're on the front part of the Jeep and you can look around with your YouTube goggles or whatever the heck that you use it with. And they're going on a driving adventure to try and get away from whatever bad guy because they stole some jewel from a thing. And I went, okay, this needs to be a ride. Is you're in a Jeep, or someone like Launchpad is radio controlling your Jeep and he's going to take you into an adventure. If Mickey and Minnie's is going to have this 2D world become 3D, or sort of 2.5D as they're saying, and they're going to have these cartoon characters come to life, I think it would be wicked to be in a Jeep and driving up and they're like, we're going to try and find the treasure. I can't do a Scottish accent or a David Tennant Doctor Who voice. But if he's like, we're going to look for the treasure of the dinosaur, and they'd be like, oh, Uncle Donald, this is boring. And then a big old dinosaur skeleton comes to life and starts chasing them and us.
They could do the is it Shanghai Disney or Hong Kong Disney that has the Captain Jack who turns from a skeleton into a man?
Shanghai.
They could do that, but with a dinosaur.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That's very cool.
A very big Pepper's ghost effect where a skeleton just turns normal as you turn the corner. Oh, that would be
great.
so cool.
Well, at the same time, I suppose either you can have Jiro Gearloose, right? Jiro Gearloose?
Yes, that's it.
So he is, of course, a scientist, and there are many different scientists in that Duckburgiverse that you can have create time travel. That's very possible. Or you could just have them go to a dinosaur land, because that is also something that happens on DuckTales. Either or. You can make either of those situations work out rather well.
Or have it be South America.
Yes.
I like the idea of the South American sort of Mayan Mexico,
dinosaurs in South America.
Yeah.
And it would
probably. Weren't we all dinosaurs at one
Well, then
point?
there's no Duckburg.
You're the doctor. You tell us.
Yes, that's the thing. It can't be South America and Duckburg. I like South America because I think it's more consistent with the other lands.
Okay. Yeah.
And
One can make a point, though, that Pandora now opens the door for creative environments, and Duckburg is a creative environment. And not the first time Duckburg has been in a Disney park. Magic Kingdom had it as part of Mickey's Birthday Land for
yes.
several years.
A thing that became permanent that we were talking about as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The DuckTales theme, the extended karaoke version where there's no lyrics, I put that over Dinosaur. It's all right. It's the same as when the Indiana Jones theme kicks in when the boulder's rolling and everything.
I guess that's the other thing is you can with DuckTales you have the benefit of having some nice music you can pump through the parks.
The music in the show is great, and it always adapts to wherever adventure they're going to. I think that'd be really, really cool because this ride has no music, and we've argued about rides. Should they have music? Should Pandora? Who's pumping in music while you're on a Banshee? Is it? But
non-diegetic music.
Speaking of sound, I just want to take it back to the dinosaur ride itself and say that ride needs to have the volume turned down on it. It's very loud, and sometimes it sounds like the speakers are having trouble keeping up with it.
Especially at the end, right before the asteroid hits, the squealing, wailing sound that comes out of that comes and hits you along with a blast of air is so loud. Or the frequency is just turned up far too much.
Yeah, one thing you can do is a DuckTales ride would mean you can use the same cars, but make them a little less bouncy.
Yes, that's true.
And you can have Donald being sort of in danger the whole time, right? Everybody else is doing just fine, and Donald and probably Launchpad are both. Launchpad is, of course, almost always getting bitten by dinosaurs, but can't see it or doesn't know what's happening. And Donald is, of course, holding himself in the jaws of a T-Rex or whatever, and keeping the jaws open. That's
Bill.
Animatronic Donald Duck trying to hold a Tyrannosaurus Rex mouth open. That'd be great.
Would they be realistic dinosaurs? Or
yes, the dinosaurs, or at least they would be realistic in a stylized way.
I think that's a good call.
Yes, where
brighter, less accurate.
Yes, exactly. And maybe we could actually have feathered dinosaurs. Wouldn't that be great? We finally see visualized and animatronic made feathered dinosaurs like they're supposed to be.
Or even crazy fictional ones.
That's also true, yeah.
And then just show, in the queue, whatever the queue might be, just try and show what those... we're looking for they would be looking for a fictional dinosaur, the Dodactylus or something. It's like a dodo mixed with a dinosaur or something.
They're looking for a fossil of some kind to add to Scrooge McDuck's collection, and they stumble across some kind of artifact that's like the dead will rise or something, and then it brings all the dinosaurs back to life.
The Dinonomicon?
The Dinonomicon. That's not bad.
Let's jump into... Now, I know it's 1998, and there's a little movie coming out in a year for you, and it was called Star Wars Episode 1.
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Sorry about that, by the way.
I did see that, but I've also seen, of course, because of my time travel, I've seen 2 and 3 and the originals, and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
You've seen it.
Yeah, he's lived through the past 20 years with us.
But he's been to the future to see
I've seen them.
all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and there's probably still more. But how would we put Star Wars into Dinosaur?
Well, yes. Well, all right. Well, now let's get into the evil corporate side of things, and put the biggest IPs we can into that section. Star Wars.
I do have one.
Yes.
I do have one. Remember when Luke is in Dagobah and he's training and he goes through like that evil section of Dagobah? Where it's like, in there you will face your fears, or
where
whatever.
he stands still and Darth Vader comes at him. What a great ride!
Yeah,
The Force Cave. Yeah.
is it? Yeah,
Oh.
that's my dinosaur ride. Instead of going through like into like the Temple of Mara or whatever, or
Oh, so it's
you're-
Dagobah.
It's a Dagobah adventure ride.
So what you're basically suggesting here, if I may
They'll have some iguanas
double check,
and
is you want
corn
E.T.'s
snakes.
adventure, but it's Dagobah and Yoda.
Yes, but I want it to be the evil dark cave. I want you to be going through the scary parts of Star Wars.
And you can have Darth Vader there.
You can have Darth Vader, you can have Kylo Ren, you can have a Wampa, you can have whatever kind of scary
No,
animal
you
you
can't.
want.
I don't think you can have a Wampa.
What's a Wampa again?
Oh, the Wampas are the creatures on Hoth. The
Oh,
abominable
sure. No,
snowmen
what did
on
I mean?
Hoth.
The Rancor. You're gonna have every
A Rancor?
scary giant
Okay.
monster rolled into one because it's like your force training, and it's gonna be like,
A
A Rancor would be awesome.
Yes, a Rancor animatronic would be cool as hell.
oh, how about like a Jabba's palace ride? He just tries to
I
kill
mean-
you with a bunch of traps.
That
or
would mean
something?
that would have to be Tatooine, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, a Dagobah swamp.
mean,
we don't have a swampy
Desert.
area.
We also don't have a desert area, really. We have Africa, but Africa's not a desert. Deserts are still an ecosystem with their own unique creatures in it. I guess, though, if it's Tatooine, you can't have, like... This is the sandfish, or what are they called? They're lizards, and they call them the sandfish or something. 'cause
Well,
they-
the hard part
dive
of
in.
all of this is you can't double dip in IP in Animal Kingdom and
That's true, I
right,
suppose.
right? They've already done Pandora, and because they did Pandora, there is already this sort of like check out these fake animals that are in our area.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
And so the hard part is you can't really do that twice and get away with it because it's already a zoo on Pandora. So technically, I mean, it's not, but it kind of is.
Yes.
And so this is a really difficult one because I don't think you can find a way to push I don't think you can push a Star Wars IP. I think you can make Marvel work very well, but I don't think you can push Star Wars.
I was
Anyone
going to
else
say...
thinking Wakanda?
Yeah, of course, 100%.
yeah,
The problem
I
with-
mean-
well, Wakanda is Africa, basically.
Yes.
So
and that's the thing.
it doesn't
it-
really work.
When inevitably more money is needed, and so they have to reskin things, they'll reskin Africa to be Wakanda. They'll have this great like forced perspective building, and they'll be like, "That's where the Black Panther lives," or whatever. But anyways, that's
You know how
we're
they
get-
are. Everyone's like, "Hey, that's where that secret place is." Come
Yes,
on, I guess
exactly.
it's no longer secret. So
Speaking of Marvel, I assume since 1998 you've had time to watch the 53 movies that have been Marvel that have come out in that time,
Yes.
right?
of course,
yeah,
I've seen the
like-
Scarlet Witch movie. I've seen
Oh,
the
that's right, 'cause he's-
rebooted Vision. I've seen Doctor Strange 8, and
And they made a new Blade, right? I understand because Blade
New
came out in
Blade,
1998.
still with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, the man
to
has
have him back.
taxes.
I was gonna say there is a dinosaur island in the Marvel universe.
What?
The X-Men go there.
my God.
I can't remember what the exact island is called, but I know that once you go on that island, your mutant powers stop working, and 2, that's where Sauron, not to be confused with Sauron from Lord of the Rings, Sauron the pterodactyl man lives, and turns people into dinosaurs.
How hokey.
Yes.
Go
it
on.
was- but you could... I can't remember what it's called. It's called, like, Genesis Island or something like that. But it was in the animated TV series. So now that Fox has been purchased, they can put the X-Men there and have that dinosaur theme and keep it dinosaur themed if they wanted to.
I would legit. Well, first off, I need to read this comic now where the X-Men are on Dino Island.
It's called the Savage Lands. I remember it now.
X-Men
Dinoland USA.
Dino Island.
It was.
I want to go on that ride.
It's called the Savage Lands. So, but anyways, yeah, that could work.
Well,
or no, I don't want to say it could work, but if you wanted to keep the dinosaur theme, you have a Marvel property that allows for
Right.
that.
Two thoughts I have. One is it's a shame we don't own DC because Animal Man is just sitting there.
Oh yeah. I don't
Kraven-
know how
Kraven
Animal
the
Man would-
Hunter.
Oh yeah, Kraven the Hunter.
I suppose.
Well, but kind
but
of.
we don't
but,
own him either.
Wait, what? I thought Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's a Spider-Man
Sony.
villain. Oh yeah, Sony's not going to give that up anytime.
Wait, in the future, doesn't Disney purchase Sony as well?
We'll find out, won't we?
AOL does. They make a great comeback.
AOL?
I thought you wouldn't be able to tell us because, messing up the timeline.
No,
I already know that you don't invest well, so it's fine.
Yeah,
That's fair. Yeah.
we're probably dead by next week or something.
Oh my god.
But anyways,
You would have told us, right?
no,
Can't.
Wait.
what?
What about a Doctor Who ride?
No.
It's a
No.
TARDIS rover.
What are they gonna do? Shove you in a little box and then just have it fling around?
So Ant-Man, of course, is an interesting prospect, but Ant-Man for me, I've always wanted Ant-Man to take over its stuff to be a bug. So that's already sort of called.
Okay, I mean that could work as well.
Because that's about bugs, so that works. The problem
guess-
is we don't have any sort of dinosaur MCU, at least in 2019. I can't tell you about the future yet in the MCU, but in 2019, we don't have any MCU characters that are like dinosaur-y at all, or even animal-y. I don't think. It's very difficult.
I'm not a huge Marvel person, but off the top of my head, I can't even think of anything.
Well,
I'm sure if we went to a comic store and asked them, what are your Marvel dinosaur comics?
But no one's going to do a ride about an obscure character without several movies and a guaranteed success rate. I mean, I don't even think people would do a Doctor Strange ride yet, and as though I think that would be fun and visually interesting.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
yes.
There's not
It's
enough
synergy, though.
love, for that character. You can do an Iron Man. We've done an Iron Man experience. There's been Spider-Man rides. There's big characters that can get away with it, but that's the problem. Is you really only have 5 or so characters that could get away with such things.
Yes.
Or teams of characters, I should say, because Guardians is, of course, more than 5 people.
Yes.
Thor, I guess. I don't know. Asgard there? Sure. I don't know.
Well, I think we can safely say that, given our weird suggestions, that Marvel or Star Wars would not be going in there anytime soon.
Well,
so
that's
that people can rest assured.
I guess that's a kind of comforting thought, is that Marvel and Star Wars do feel out of place there, which, I mean, maybe they'll shove them in anyways, just because money. But it's hard to make them fit, which I think is the bigger thing.
Here's another idea.
Yes.
Zootopia. We've talked about
this. Go on.
Well, we put Zootopia there instead of, say, elsewhere. And the ride is the city of Zootopia, and you are in a little taxi.
I think
we broke into the Imagineering offices a while back, and we came up with a concept where it would be called Fast and the Furriest, and you'd be in like a ZPD training vehicle, like a cop car, and you're driving along with Nick and Judy, like in the front.
Oh, and you did that inside of Dinosaur.
We actually put it where like Rafiki's Planet Watch would be. We had the Zootopia train going to the ride, and then you get on the ride, and it would be an ECV. It would be a motion vehicle.
Oh, for sure.
Through the streets of Zootopia.
Well, you already have the area already. You just lose the train basically.
And we have the ride already.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Easy. We made a Zootopia ride for you, Disney.
With the rest of that area, though, like
the rest
I guess
of that area
would be.
Yeah, you just make it more of Zootopia.
And you just have
that's the bank or the police station. It just starts at the police station.
Yeah, I was gonna say it starts at the police station. Then you have this nice forced perspective dome for Zootopia, or I guess you could make a miniature in the ride. Or
City Hall. It should be City Hall.
City Hall. Yeah, that would work.
It is arguable if the Finding Nemo Theater in the Wild, counts as this area, because it sort of exists as like this void between Asia and here. On websites where I've been doing research, it does list that theater as part of this area.
That's fascinating.
It doesn't really, but you would put your Zootopia thing in there. You'd put that theater would become some kind of stage show.
It's Zootopia, the stage show. Oh no, but there's no music.
Festival of the Zootopia.
There's Try Anything, and then there's all the pun-based Food Rocks-esque animal songs we can come up with.
There you go. And you could do fun puppeteer stuff.
And facts about animals.
Yeah. Like Warhorse style puppeteering.
Or like a retelling of Zootopia, because those are the only 3 types of Disney shows that are getting made.
Look at these characters.
Remember this movie, and then Nick Wilde will be like, "Hey, that's not how it happened," and then we'll be like, "Who are you?" Even though we know who Kristoff is. I mean, we know who Nick is. Anyways,
I think I agree with our good friend Dr. Seeker here. that a South America pavilion, not pavilion, I'm thinking of Epcot, South America theming would be everything we need. It would have we just transfer the Indiana Jones ride over. We'd have a continuation of the thematic ambiance of the rest of the park, and we'd continue that learning where we'd learn more about the animals of South America and Mesoamerican culture.
I'm still holding out for a DuckTales adventure ride. I think the cartoons in the parks could be a big thing, especially with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Like, that's going to pave the way for bringing these 2D characters into the 3D space, or into like a physical space like Mickey and Minnie. And I personally would love to. I love adventure things, and this ride is a big adventure. Indiana Jones is an adventure. I would love to just see this still be the adventure area. I mean, the whole park is like adventure.
Yeah.
But this is more so like, dinosaurs, time travel. It's crazy and wacky.
Well, I agree with Thomas on the idea about Indiana Jones in South America. I also think that you can take the current Finding Nemo show building and make that the actual Indiana Jones stunt show and take that out of Hollywood Studios. It'd be a different show, of course, more temple-oriented or something, or more maybe even animals. You add animals to it, right? Indy doesn't like snakes, so you have snakes in the show and different things.
Animals doing stunts. Animals doing stunts! Write that down.
But I think that from seeing what the future holds for my beloved, Dino Institute, I think that for me would be the greatest sort of ode to that area. Of course, it's not about dinosaurs anymore, but it's still educating people about animals and about maybe even their history a little bit because of using the land and talking about South America. I think that's all sounds a lot of fun, and people will still get a thrill. And of course, Disney saves money because a lot of the stuff is already figured out.
Mm-hmm. We didn't even talk about the education, but yeah, like there's this other park down the way that has fictional information about dinosaurs and makes them appear as though they're still alive and everything. This is the area of like the only way to see dinosaurs is to go back in time, and we have this little museum in the front. We've learned a lot about dinosaurs since 1998. And I think forwarding the ride by bringing in what kind of new science and things we've learned, like the visual of what a dinosaur could be, I think that'd be amazing. If it did move in that direction where it does get that kind of update.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think dinosaurs actually really matter to Animal Kingdom. I don't think they I think they filled a niche, in that was the niche that was not filled by having the mystical dragon ride and the mythical beast doing that sort of stuff. It was like, well, we can't have that, but at least there's something here that's we don't have anymore. And now I sort of feel like now that we have mythical beasts, we can concentrate on hopefully animals that are alive, and in that sense, maybe even be more of a not a zoo than we are currently.
Well, you know what? I think that this has been like a really successful rehab.
Rehab?
I think we came up
Wait a minute. Rehab?
Shoot.
You are those guys that in the future Disney takes care of. Never mind.
Wait. Oh, we get taken care of. Yeah, we get put in the Cinderella Castle suite.
Wow, that sounds nice.
That sounds wonderful.
And definitely not suspicious. And I'm definitely not going to reinforce my bunker tonight. Unless he's talking like snipers.
I wouldn't worry about it. You have 5 to 6 years.
Oh, we have 5 to 6 years to prepare. Okay,
yes.
Good. That's good to know. Well, that's it for this episode of Ride Rehab. For more on this show, head to riderehab.com. You can listen to more of this podcast anywhere the podcast can be heard.
And be sure to follow us at Ride Rehab on all social media. We also relish your feedback on what you thought of this episode and what would you do to rehab Dinosaur or Dinoland U.S.A.
Yes, and I've been in the future, and I've been to the Podcasting Hall of Fame, and right there, smack dab in the middle of the Disney Podcasting Hall, is a wonderful program called Dream Finders, which you should also check out, which is on WDWNT.com, but can be found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And, of course, if you're in 2060 when you finally listen to this, when I listen to all the past episodes, you can download it to your brainstem.
Oh, that's cool. Are we in this Hall of Fame?
No.
We're in the basement.
There's a picture in the bathroom.
Oh,
Nice.
Nice.
Someone's
People have to look at us then.
I feel like
I didn't say where the picture was in the bathroom.
yeah, I was. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Are we like the urinal cakes?
Some things in time travel you just can't know.
Oh, okay.
Well, if we're all wrapped up here, I see no reason that I shouldn't take you guys on a little time-hopping journey. Any destinations you'd like to go?
Where can we go?
Well, we could go back to 1955, Anaheim.
Oh, you mean like before the parks?
Well, let me put it like this, gentlemen. You don't have to rehab it if you're the first to make it.
Ooh.
Oh, this is too much power. Should we not do this? No, wait, what do they say at Second City? Yes, and let's do it! Let's go! Okay, we'll see you next time when we'll be back in time at 1955, and I hope you leave us a way that we can get back.
We're gonna have to find like a wax cylinder or something. That's what they used back then, right? Wax cylinders? Alright, well, this has been Ride Rehab. I'm Thomas Kiernan.
I'm Tyler Mann.
And I'm Dr. Seeker.
And thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the past!